And hello and welcome back to this week's installation of the Aloha Movement Project Mastermind Meeting. My name is Jonathan Fritzler.
Eric Butler.
Seth Elmer.
And today what we're going to be talking about is 10 of the top challenges facing entrepreneurs in 2014. So what we're going to start with is the first thing is technology. And I think that the biggest challenge facing entrepreneurs who are using technology is obviously we're being inundated with tons of different tools, everything from social media to web design to video production, all of these different means of communicating with our audience. And I guess today we want to talk about what are some of the challenges. What are some of the challenges? Obviously there's so many, and how do we choose the right tools to use? So Eric, what are the tools that you use for using technology to get your message out there?
Of course, internet is the number one technology you're going to want to use. You're going to use Facebook, you're going to use LinkedIn, you're going to tweet, you're going to do it all. Because you're just trying to get recognition out there. And you want to you see your name heard and seen, get your logo seen, get yourself branded, and then it's just all about getting yourself out there and using the technology of a computer.
And then also, just to add to that, I think that one of the biggest things with technology is that we really want to find what technology is sustainable, what technology is going to evolve with time and evolve with your company. Because think about, 5 years ago, if you were to get on, say that we invested $2 million in a MySpace campaign, and then all of a sudden MySpace doesn't even exist anymore. Well, it does, but no one's using it. So bottom line is that you want to make sure that your technology is sustainable. So if you are developing websites, you can use an open source website platform like WordPress. WordPress is developed by many people. Nobody owns WordPress, and so it's open source in the sense that it's going to continually evolve. What's the second challenge facing entrepreneurs, Seth?
I think one of the greatest challenges is exposure. Maintaining exposure, maintaining consistent exposure. They say that any press is good press. We're inundated with scandals and nudity and people trying to just get attention. I think the challenge is just to really come across to your audience in a very diplomatic way. I mean, everyone has a different genre to project to. So I think the number one thing that you want to do is just find where your demographic is before you start projecting that image of yourself.
Nice. Yeah, and I think that's a good point. That kind of leads us into the next section, which is how, as an entrepreneur, can we find and cultivate our niche or our niche. So, any thoughts on that?
I think what you want to do when you talk about your niche is that you want to find out, of course, what your passion is, first of all. And you want to find out why it's important. You know why it's important to you. You have to get that why across to the other person. Why should I do this? Why should I make it important to me? Because you already know it's important to you. So you have to look at the benefits. How's it going to benefit not only the person, but how's it going to benefit the planet? You want to make sure that it's a social entrepreneurial organization, a sustainable organization that's good for the people, planet, and profit. So those three things is what you want to look at as you look at your product and you look at your niche.
Nice. Yeah, and then also in developing your niche, of course, developing personal relationships with them would be the next challenge. How do you develop those personal relationships in an international marketplace? So as far as like for social entrepreneurs, we're addressing a type of person that cares more about the environment than they care just about like a brand name. They want to make sure that the company that they're working with or the product that they're buying is in alignment with their personal values. And so thinking about how you can actually develop a relationship with your clients would be to understand what their values are and understand what they really care about. So I'd say for number 4, developing personal relationships, that's what you really want to do, is identify what their values are. So for number 5, let's go with taking on too much. One of the challenges.
I want to say one more thing about personal relationships and developing them. Personal relationships in business, personal, family, no matter what, it takes time. And one of the best ways that you can get to know a person and let other people get to know you, I think, is to do as many short videos as you can. Like this. Okay? By watching these videos, you can basically get the personality of a person and see how they communicate well and be a lot more comfortable.
I have one more thing to add to on products too. A lot of people don't realize sometimes when they're out there pursuing entrepreneurship, some of them can get so consumed with the product they want to develop or the product that they want to sell that they actually forget that they actually can become the product. Their voice is the product. Their talent is the product. So really differentiate between those two. I mean, you can develop a product, an invention, an innovation that can revolutionize. You can advertise a product. You can represent a company. But really kind of step back within yourself and say, can I be the product? Is my talent, is my voice, or is the way I present myself, do people identify with me as a person first before they identify with me endorsing a particular product?
Yeah, there's just it's such an important thing. I'm going to make one more note about it real quick, is that just before we even started this video, we were all down there at the other end of the table. We were all working on our own things. But this is all about you. And see, that's why we're taking this time to say, hey, we're going down this road, and the question that we would have, you're going to have it too. So we really want you to have that. That's where our heart is. And it's important for you to know that. Because this isn't just, us trying to say, oh, we're so good, you ought to do what we're doing. No, we just want you to experience what we're experiencing, and maybe some of the hurdles we've gotten over will help you too.
Right on. Thanks for saying that. So the next one is taking on too much. And I think that this is something that all of us do and all entrepreneurs do, is we spread ourselves too thin. And one of the biggest challenges that I find is that when I spread myself too thin, then all of a sudden things start to fall apart around me. And then all of a sudden I'm feeling overwhelmed, stressed out. And so how can we alleviate that experience? How can we alleviate that pain?
One of the ways, I think, with my last seminar was to really prioritize what you're bringing into your COA, your center of attention. And so before you bring it into your center of attention, you really want to ask yourself, what is the most important thing, most important priority that I need to focus on right now? So you actually have to filter out and then filter in the primary priorities of what you need to focus your attention on. And sometimes in taking on too much, sometimes there's so much clutter in the head that we actually have to do a disk fragmentator. Yeah, we have to defragment our own disk drive. And sometimes when it gets too wound up, we really have to take time out of the day to allow that process to cleanse out all of that fragmentation, that mental fragmentation. And the best way to do that is to, of course, find a silent place at least twice a day and allow that process to occur. That brings the mind back into a natural state of focus.
And I don't think that, for me, sometimes when you hear that silent place, doesn't mean you have to go in the middle of the ocean to just be quiet. You can just have that quiet place inside of you. The same thing. When you have there's 100,000 things you can do out there. You have to narrow it down to 1,000 to 100. And then there's 100 things you can still do, but you don't have time for all those. You need to narrow it down to a list. And that list has to have prioritized actions that you need to be taken. They can't be like things you're thinking about. Okay? Thoughts are great. Put those in your journal on another page. If it's not an action, it doesn't go on that list. There's something action that you have to take toward your goal. And what's going to be the fastest way, best way to get what you want out there. So prioritize it, have that list, and work from the top down. That's where we're going to take that quiet time to make sure you have a good list. Once you have that list, you're ready to go.
I have one more thing to add to that just made me think of something that the masterminds do. The masterminds do in organizing all of that information in their head, what they do is they create drawers And on the drawer, they put a label on the drawer, and then they have all of those files in that drawer. And so they, by compartmentalizing, or that drawer is assigned to here, and then what you want to do is you want to close all the drawers, file the drawers, and all the bulk of the information is stored in it. Have you heard that before?
Well, it's like I have like 13 areas that have to be handled, and so those are the drawers.
Right.
But now, if I open up those drawers, it's probably got a lot of extra time. But every time I stop and I look at that drawer and go through that file, I say, this is the most important thing I got to do in this file. That goes on the list. So I might have 13 things on my list, but now I got to take those 13 things and say, which one of these is the most important?
Yeah, and then also one thing that I experience is how with my book, I'm writing my book right now, and I know that in order for me to achieve my giant list of goals, I have to have a book ready. And so then all of a sudden that's my priority. And so every moment that I'm not doing things to either make money, to survive, my priorities, that's my top priority. So it's kind of like the priority for the vision, and then the priority for, what you have to do to survive.
Yeah.
So we're always hustling. Okay, so the next one is creating a great culture. This is something that all entrepreneurs kind of face, in a sense that in order to really create a big following behind our product or our service or our organization, we have to create that culture. And that's kind of what we've been doing with AMP, is by creating this culture of social entrepreneurship, bringing in these great minds, people who are really passionate about what they love to do. And now we're taking this and we're actually sharing it with more people so we can hit a broader audience. But what are some other ways that people can create a culture?
For me, the most important is originality. I think originality stands out more than anything else. And I think a lot of people out there, they have enough intelligence to really cut through the copycats, the people that are just, repeating the carbon copies of what everybody else is saying, versus those who are like creating and originating and developing, true original works and pieces. So I think really developing originality is probably the most important thing if you really want to stand out.
Yeah, and also creativity. Creativity. It's like how can we take what's already there and bring it to the next generation? And that's originality, definitely, because and that's why I love a lot of your work. A lot of your stuff is very original in the sense that, but at the same time, we're also taking universal principles that have been taught over years and years, and we're bringing it, we're updating it, and we're using it in a new creative way. And I believe that in 21st century, one thing that's going to really separate companies from each other is how creative we can be with the ways that we do engage with our culture, with our niche, with those people, and really create that community that's really embraces self-expression and creative expression.
I haven't looked at culture because I really wasn't really clear on that. But it is originality, absolutely. What we were talking about a minute ago about structuring your priorities is very different from this part about culture. Nobody can tell you about this part. This is very personal, very creative. You're bringing something new. It's kind of like a new song. What we've got right here that we're trying to share with you is that we're like a band, okay? Where we're going to make a different sound, we're going to make different music, and we're playing this for you.
Right on. All right, so the next challenge facing entrepreneurs is to really establish your credibility. And now in the 21st century, we have all of these amazing tools. We have our social media, we have our website. But beyond that, how can we establish credibility as leaders in our niche market?
Work like hell. yeah, work like hell. And as much as you can, create that loop where people, they always see your presence out there on Facebook. They always see your presence out there about what you're doing. And you're working like hell to do that, literally. And what that does is then people know how you spend your time. Because, if I want to know you tell me how you spend your time and I'll tell you what's important to you. Okay? So if you spend your time in a lot of, parties, bars, socially doing whatever, I know it's important to you. If you spend your time working on a book 24 hours a day, losing sleep, trying to move toward a product, I know it's important to you. And it shows in the end product. Now, sometimes this is all behind the scenes, but once you get into the forefront, okay, then you have to have that presence, maintain that presence, and keep pushing that presence forward, because then people obviously see, hey, this guy's committed. Because leadership is not 100% commitment, it's 3,000.
Yeah, and also too, to add to that, I believe that in this world, in the last 10 to 15 years, we have seen all of these mediary agencies dissolve, because now the human is becoming a digital one-man band. And it's the digital one-man band, you really have to, if you really want to get yourself out there, you have to utilize all forms of media. In front of the camera, behind the camera. Graphic design, editing, writing, photos, all of that stuff. You have to really develop all of that into just this one like galactic self. And I think John here has been doing like an amazing job in doing that. He's like just diving headfirst into all of these different digital skills that he can develop and learn. And that's what the human being is really evolving into, this multitasking, multi-talented, multi-operating being.
I want to point this out that the way human beings were right before the industrial age basically turned a lot of our population into robots, because all of a sudden you did the same action every day, over and over on an assembly line, over and over again. Now doesn't seem natural to me. Okay, it wouldn't be natural to most people. You get bored. You start to not use your thinking. You start to not use. That's what you were born into. That's what we were born into. This whole cultural idea of having one job forever. No, it's not like that. Okay, every day is going to be different. So expect it and step up for the challenge. And that's just the way it is. And it's much better than that rote thing of going in, doing a factory job where you're not using your creativity. Okay? It's like taking the blue pill.
Yeah, and then on top of that, establishing credibility, I think one of the biggest things is building your body of work. And that's something that the three of us really have in common. We all have developed these powerful bodies of work that, Seth has your presentations. Eric, you've done, amazing visuals and presentations that you've created, and of course your flash mobs. And so actually engaging people in your work in that sense, and Seth with your students, actually engaging with the at-risk teams, and then with my projects, whether it be events or we've done the recording studio, we've done the mastermind group, and so through our different organizations, we've really branded ourselves as experts and as leaders in our industry. Now, I think one big thing, and this leads us into the next one, is the biggest challenge facing entrepreneurs in the 21st century is writing a blog. And I don't think enough entrepreneurs do this. And we were discussing this earlier, the power of writing a blog. And your blog is really your voice in the digital land and in the international space. It's not just your Facebook posts, because Facebook is more for a personal type of stuff. It is professional. You can be just on Facebook, and that's okay. But ultimately, you want to have a space where people are directed to, where they know that they can find and connect with you. Because if you are creating that culture, you're creating that identity, that credibility, and that community online, you want to be able to have a space where people can connect with you and only you, and not be distracted by all the other posts and all the other things happening. So you want to be able to start to collect that and build your body of work in a digital realm. So that's the next one, and the last one is standing out. And so how do we stand out in an international, worldwide web where there's so much information being shared, and these huge companies are getting so creative with the way that they market, with the way they brand? How can we as individuals, as these one-man bands, as these social entrepreneurs who are doing something for a cause, not just to make money, but to survive and have an impact, how can we stand out?
Number one, primary, is the visual. You got to be a visualist. You got to be a visual artist. That's the primary tool in reaching whoever you're wanting to reach out there. And the more you can develop the ability to project that visual through your creativity, through your multimedia, through just speaking in front of the camera. They're seeing your visual face, and then all that you can produce. Right below that, it would be your ability to create some sort of slogan or sound bite that best represents you. Yeah, and it's just like flags or religious symbols. It's the visual, and then the name of the organization, and then what it represents. It's the same premise that every person wants to develop, and the more powerful, more like visually captivating that is, it draws people to that.
I think that's exactly. We hit on this topic last time too, because this is probably the most important one. With everything said and done, everybody's competing for one thing, not money, not for anything other than attention. Because if you don't get somebody's attention, you could have the best product in the world and nobody knows about it. Okay, and you don't want that. Okay, so it's saying visually, look at me, look at me, look at me. And yeah, you mentioned that just pouring things, bodies, fleshes. Yeah, you always see that. It's on the side. It's like, why is it there? It's trying to get your attention because they know, the basic food and sex are the basic drives of people. Get on purpose, stay on purpose. Don't get on the sidetrack. Keep your attention focused, and then others will follow.
Right on. Thank you guys for that. That was a powerful gathering. We're gonna bring it in here with the amp handshake. Boom, boom. We're blasting out. We're bringing you the top gurus, everything from social entrepreneurship to leadership, and we want to be able to engage with you. So please, please, please leave any questions or comments in the comment section below, and anything that you'd like us to talk about in the future. And please subscribe to our videos and to our podcasts. What we're going to be doing now is we're going to be flipping the table, and we're going to be going right into our teaching with the guru, Mr. Seth Elmer. Give it up for Seth Elmer.
Head to the other end now.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Just slide on.
No, but we will get our lights set up. Boom. Hey, I love you, brother.
Yeah, love you too, dude.
Boom. This is going to be a powerful talk. What are you talking about today, Seth?
Levelevation, raising the level of your elevation.
Nice.
Raising the level of your elevation. Levelevation.
That's one thing I love about your teachings, is that you always get so creative with the way that you the play on words, but also the topics, and keeping it universal, but keeping it up to date. It's all new, it's all fresh, it's all creative, and it's all just a big, experiment to get weird with it, because that's what we do in Hawaii. So, if you cannot see right now, we're here in our beautiful office. This is Waikiki right here. You can see that out there. We just got some aliens just cruising by. And we're going to go into our teaching now with our guru, the one, the only, Mr. Seth Elmer.
Awesome.
Thank you, Seth.
Thank you. Very, very happy to be here. Thank you for that kind introduction, Mr. Fritzler, Mr. John Fritzler. And I was
we're getting illuminated people up there.
Thank you, John Fritzler, for that introduction. I really, really appreciate sharing this new teaching with you called Levelevation. It's the name of the seminar, Levelevation, Elevate Your Mind. So what we're going to do with starting, we're going to be starting off. I was really inspired by buildings and floors and just the up buttons and the down buttons. And also, with these luxurious buildings here in Waikiki, I became inspired. Some of the most beautiful buildings here in Waikiki have just the most amazing setup with their penthouse suites on the very top. And some of the most beautiful hotels in the world are right here in this place. And so we became inspired by that, and I wanted to create a teaching that's going to allow the individual to raise their level to get into that top level thinking, to get to the top of their game. So what I want to do with this seminar is I want to start it off with just some simple phrases that we share day to day with one another. I'm going to start it off. Here we go. Let's see here. Man, I'm getting down on myself. He's moving up in the world. He's moving up the corporate ladder. What's up, dude? Dude, you're going down. You know what, dude? I think he's dropped his standards. Cheer up. Let's think something up. What can you think up? He's dropping everybody. In fact, he's a high school dropout. Let's build each other up. He has nothing but upbuilding things to say about you. I think I'm going to be settling down. What's interesting about these phrases is that they're pertaining to two directions. One is going up, and one is going down. So we really relate a lot of the things in our lives, being down on myself, we're dropping. We're dropping. And as we're moving up in the world, things are looking up, and we're moving up. See how it denotes this elevation process. And so that's what we're going to really talk about today is levelevation. And what we're going to do is pinpoint the level of your elevation, of where you are elevating yourself to. And so I created 4 main areas of where we can focus on individually to start raising those levels within ourselves, raising those levels and moving them up floor by floor, story by story. And this is going to really help an individual that may be struggling with feelings within themselves that make them feel down. People that are feeling down on themselves. People who are feeling that they're beaten down by the world. People who are depressed and down, their energy is dropping. People who have problems with addiction, they kind of put them, they say, he's on a downward spiral. They're dropping down. So this whole seminar here is really designed to start pinpointing those areas that you can start focusing on and start raising them up. So the first area that we are going to start that raising process of recognizing that process is your self-view and your worldview. So here on this grid, we have kind of like an elevator setup. We have ground level, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then the penthouse. Then right here are the arrows. So there's 10 arrows on each side. We've got 10 here, 10 here, 10 here, and 10 here. So in the first column of 10, what we're going to do is we're going to discuss the self-view and the worldview. And what we want to do is we want to start, understanding how much does our self-view and worldview affect the way we live our lives in the world, in our day-to-day life. So the self-view. So the self-view would be the way that you're viewing your inner self. The way you feel about your inner self. The way the way those feelings, those self-view feelings are attached to your experiences in life. And how you perhaps might be using experiences from the past to generate that self-view within yourself. And so what we want to do here, in correlation with your worldview, is that we want to start discussing how we can start raising the self-view, how we can start elevating the self-view and keep moving it up all the way. Now, One of the most important things to do to raise your self-view is to really start cultivating appreciation. Cultivating appreciation, one of them would be, one of the quotes that I have is, keep elevating every thought to always appreciating what you've got. Keep elevating every thought to always appreciating what you've got. So, what we want to do is we want to recognize what we can start appreciating within ourselves. What we want to do is we want to start recognizing the talents within us that we were born with. We want to start recognizing the beauty within us. We want to start recognizing our divinity and our ability to receive love and give love. And if we're suffering with inner self issues, what we want to do is we want to really develop the ability to face that inner self. Sometimes it's so difficult to do that. But what we want to do is to start developing that appreciation and developing every thought to always appreciating what you've got. Yeah, that's the first one. By doing that, your self-view is going to raise up. Second is your worldview. These are completely linked together. Your self-view is directly linked to your worldview. So the way you are seeing yourself is much like a mirror. The mirror reflects this view of yourself as it's being projected onto the world, and as that projection occurs on the world that you're experiencing begins to reflect that back towards you. So it's like a double-ended mirror. It's like a double-sided mirror. The projection and the reflection is meshing together within the view that you have of yourself and your worldview. So what we want to do with the worldview is, just like what Einstein said, every individual has a choice to live in a world of chaos or live in a world of peace. So you have a choice of seeing this peaceful, joyful world aligning with you, or you can start seeing this chaotic, destructive world that starts working against you. So we really want to shift the polarity of the self. We want to see the external world, the worldview, creating an alliance with us. We want to see that alliance being to shift towards in our direction. So again, that begins with the thoughts. So one good positive quote or affirmation would be, every morning you wake up, you can say to yourself, keep elevating every thought to always appreciating what I got. Another one would be, from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, the greatest opportunities in the world are attracted to you in every way. So that's what you're seeing the world do for you. You're seeing the greatest opportunities in the world being attracted to you in every way. And also, too, you want to see all of the people, your worldview. You should be seeing all of the people in your life working with you. They're being attracted to your personality and your presence because they want to help you with your intentions of elevating yourself. So with this part right here, I want you to put on these little arrows right here, what is your level of your self-view and your worldview? Put that level right there. How high is that level? How strong is that level? The next one we're going to talk about is called worthiness and deservedness. So if you're right here at the ground level, if you were to say, let's say, you're living in your car in a parking garage at this huge building, you're waking up every morning in this car, right? But it's in this building. At the top of this building is a penthouse. But you're waking up every day on ground level in a parking garage. And parked right next to your car is this Lamborghini. And every morning you get woken up to this guy starting it up. and you wake up and you're in your car, and every morning he pulls out and zips away. But on one of those occasions, this gentleman actually knocks on your window and looks inside your car and sees you sleeping there and starts asking you questions. And then he starts asking, hey, why are you sleeping in your car right here, And he starts to get to know you, and he realizes, you're not like super sketchy. So he decides to encourage you. And what he does is he actually brings you up the elevator all the way up to his penthouse suite. And so from that perspective, your worldview has completely shifted, right? So what we want to do, and if he was going to talk to you and give you a seminar, this is the seminar that he would give you of how to get yourself into the top of your game, to the top level. So one of the things that he would talk to you about would be how to develop the worthiness and the deservedness to actually start elevating your thinking to where you can actually arrive here to the penthouse. So this is what we're going to talk about next, the worthiness and deservedness. This is by far one of the greatest stumbling blocks, one of the greatest walls that people will keep hitting and they won't be able to get over because they don't feel worthy of creating more success in their life and they don't feel like they deserve it. So what we want to do is we want to really start cultivating within ourselves that sense of worthiness, that we are entitled to the best of everything. Really start thinking about that you deserve to have the best of everything. And on top of that, feeling deserved, that you deserve to have the best of everything, you also have to feel worthy, that your inner self has to feel worthy of having the best of everything. So these are very vital. They're like stage 1, stage 2, worthiness and deservedness. Do I feel worthy and do I feel like I deserve to have the very best, to have the top level life? So what I would like for you to do from 0 to 10 is really put in those numbers your feeling of worthiness and deservedness. Really work hard and diligently to build up that self-worthiness, to build up that deservedness. And one of the keys to developing strong worthiness and deservedness is to actually change your association. So the first thing you want to do is you change the self-view and the worldview. And by doing that, you're going to start changing the people that come into your life. When the people come into your life and start making alliances with you, that's going to actually start boosting your worthiness and deservedness. These are two linked together. This feeds into the other. Now, what happens at the next stage is that we actually start through this activity is that we'll start on the third area, we'll start raising the standards and the values that we are putting on ourselves. So that means we are putting in that immediate self-action and we're differentiating what we are deciding to do, which would normally be harmful for us versus beneficial. So what we're doing is that we're developing a stronger sense of self-respect. And that self-respect is where we start raising the standards and the values of our daily life and our physical habits. And also the standards and the values would be how much we are disciplining ourselves to move forward with what we want to accomplish. So, standards and values. A good example of standards and values would be let's say your friends are presenting you with an option to go partying with them. Let's say it could be like a heavy. You know that they are heavy partiers, and you realize that when you party with them, you're going to be like partying really hard all weekend. But because your self-view and worldview and your worthiness and your deservedness and you're changing your crowd of people, then you're met with this area of where it gets tested and you get tempted. And then you decide to say, hey, you know what? I would love to hang out with you guys and do that, but I can't do that. I've made some new commitments in my life, and actually I'm going to be working on some entrepreneurial pursuits over this weekend. So I'm sorry I can't do that, but maybe we can all grab a movie sometime. Maybe we all can hang out. So that's where we start really raising our standards and values. And that applies with all, that's just one situation. That applies with all of those little situations that really test us as to where we are allowing that pendulum to swing with our standards and values. So successful people, they realize that they have to keep raising the standards and the values of what they feel and worthy and deserve of what belongs to them, right? So when you're raising a higher financial standard for yourself, right? What you're doing is that you're committing to yourself that that's the standard and value that you are eventually going to reach, because you're raising it up. You're raising it up. Therefore, you are ascending. You are moving up. You are elevating your thought. You want to elevate your level. You want to reach levelevation. Here we go. So right here is 0 to 10, ground level. So how high are you raising your standards and values? We want to mark that in here. How high is that? With your daily life, your work life, your relationship life, how high are those standards and values? And then what we're going to do right here in the very last part is, as we are moving through the self-view, the worldview, the worthiness, the deservedness, the standards and values, we arrive at the last part is what we call wealth and success. Wealth and success is where we start really putting all of those plans into motion, and it really starts raising up all the way to the top. So what is one of the things that we can do to raise our wealth and success? I was just listening just recently, a couple days ago, to Bob Proctor. And one of the things that Bob Proctor said in Building Wealth, he said that you have to develop your MSI, or your MSIs. And your MSIs would be your multiple sources of income. So if you're living a clock in, clock out life, and you want to start raising your wealth and success, all you have to simply do is just to focus your attention on just another little area where you can start making and generating another MSI, another multiple source of income. And as you create that little pot of energy that starts creating a channel of wealth to come in, you can just, do what those infomercials do, set it and forget it. Set it and forget it, and then create another MSI, another multiple source of income, and then another one. And you can create numerous multiple sources of income, and as that begins to occur, as those multiple sources of income starts driving up your income, guess what's going to happen here? Your wealth and success starts moving up. You're reaching the penthouse suite. As you reach the penthouse suite, you are realizing that every MSI is moving you to the top. So I'm going to read you a little quote, some of my notes right here. Okay. It's going to apply to what we're learning right here. Achieving top-level thinking is a process of elevating your standards and values, your self-view and worldview, your wealth and success, and your worthiness and deservedness. All of these must be raised up, floor by floor, successively and progressively and gradually, until they naturally transition you into the eventuality of reaching the top floor, the top of your game, your penthouse suite. So that's what we have to do. We have to raise it floor by floor. And part of the secret of raising all of these areas up to arriving into your penthouse suite, the secret is in the story. So I have another paragraph I'm going to read to you. It's going to pertain to your story. Now really think deeply about this. Every building is comprised of floors, also called stories. So like an example, that is a 108-story building. But really think about what that means exactly. Every building must have stories for its structure to be created and complete. Your life is the same. You have a story from what you're building your life upon. How is your story dictating the way you are building your life? Is your story dropping you down, or is your story moving you up? How are you allowing your story to create your life? How much of your story are you using to build one success upon another, floor by floor, until you finally reach the top? We are all living in the same building. We decide which story or floor that we wish to live in. So to truly set your soul free, you have to elevate your mind. The top